Starting streaming. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Starting streaming. Welcome. Good evening.
Welcome, Commissioner. We're here. We don't waka come.
Welcome, man. I see you. Oh, wow.
Now only you waka come.
Yes, so welcome, everyone, and welcome to Medical Mondays with Dr. O. As we all know, next month, October, is Domestic Violence Month. But we decided to start a little bit early because of the importance of this subject. And so we have the pleasure of having our sister, our daughter, Aramide Adedeji, and you can fondly call her Mimi. That's her nickname. She has a wealth of knowledge in this subject and personal experience. She comes with a, wealthy background, which I'm going to defer to her to introduce herself fully and educate us. Before we go on, I want to remind us that on this platform, we don't establish patient or provider-patient relationships. We share information, we encourage each other, and we build each other up. So without much ado, Mimi, you have the floor.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Dr. O. Before I go into me, I want to give you all, and thank you for popping on today. I want to give you all a few statistics to just think about before we go further in. We're talking about domestic violence, intimate partner violence today. So I want to give you a few numbers. Every day in the United States, 20,000 people call the domestic violence hotline every single day. 24 people a minute becomes a victim of intimate partner violence, domestic violence. And I'll tell you all what those two mean. They are used interchangeably, but I will talk about what they both mean. The US spends about $37 million in medical treatment related to domestic violence in a year. That's not across years. That's one single year. 1 in 4 women and 1 in 3 women, and 1 in 4 men will be a victim of domestic violence in their lifetime. So that's just a few numbers. There's a lot of statistics on this topic, but I just wanted to just give you all a few numbers, those drastic numbers, just to kind of keep in your mind as we continue on in this conversation. As Dr. O said, my name is Aramide Adedeji. Feel free to call me Mimi. And I am a licensed clinical social worker. I have been working in the social work field for over 15 years. I worked in foster care. I currently work in early childhood education, working with the little people, 0 to 5 years old. In foster care, I worked with the big kids, so I got to see the impact of domestic violence because they were removed from their homes for that reason a lot of the times. And then I've also had my own private practice for about 10 years now. So I've treated a lot of clients who were victims of intimate partner violence and also had children that were in the homes going through a lot of difficulties related to domestic violence. So this topic is very important to me, because even though I've worked with people, worked as a clinician, worked in foster care and all of that, I personally am a conqueror. I decided to start using that word. I heard that from somewhere. And, what the person said about using the word survival as or conqueror as opposed to survival really resonated with me. So I decided that, I'm going to change that viewpoint. I'm a conqueror of this issue. But for many years, I did not consider myself a conqueror. I considered myself a victim. And once you change your viewpoint, then you can feel empowered to be able to speak out about it. Domestic violence, intimate partner violence, it's hidden in the shadows and it's secret. And in secrecy, domestic violence breeds. So my call to action right now is to bring it out from the shadows. I do have some slides that I'm going to share because I think that it is important to share the background on this topic. It's a really big, massive, very well studied topic, but I do have to share some of that just to educate in case people don't know about some of this. But I do want this to be more so of a conversation. So that we can talk and just have a real conversation, because we're dealing, if you yourself haven't gone through it, someone who has. So this is not a case study. This is about real life people. And you're looking at one today. So I want to have real conversations today. But like I said, I'll start off by sharing my slide. I don't know what people can see. Can you see the slide or you see me?
We see both.
Both.
We see the slide very wildly, and you
Okay.
are speaking. And let me even fix that better. So we
All
see,
right.
yes.
Both. Okay. All right. Let me get to it. All right. So everybody can see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right.
Before you
So-
get started, I want to
Yeah.
say thank you for being brave and vulnerable. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a long time coming, but we're here now. No turning back. So I'm going to share. All right. So I'm going to share my story for sure. But I want to talk about a few things, as I said, just to give some background and some informational things about this topic. So I want to definitely provide the difference between domestic violence and intimate partner violence. They both carry the same forms of abuse, but one is they're distinct, and I'll get to that in a moment. But they are used interchangeably. So, as a public, we say domestic violence, and people assume it's one or the other, but we'll talk about the differences here. We'll talk about risk factors, things that could lead to intimate partner violence. And as we know, with anything that we could talk about, everybody's case is different. So all of these don't fit perfectly into everybody's story, but at least we'll cover the general risk factors. We'll talk about briefly the impacts on the emotional and social well-being. And I'll talk about my book that I have written related to my story. All right, before I jump in, I want people to, I provide this training to mental health professionals who are working with clients dealing with domestic violence. And it can be a very touchy subject. So it's important for people to take care of themselves. So if you need to step away, it's too close to home, you yourself or somebody else has gone through it, make sure that you are taking care of yourself, so that you can, you can be okay. That's what we need to do. We need to be okay in this heavy topic. All right, so the differences. Domestic violence, actually that domestic violence and intimate partner violence are behaviors where the purpose is to gain power and control. So that covers both of them. But domestic violence is with someone who's within the household and can be between anybody in the household. So domestic violence actually can be between a parent and a child. It can be amongst siblings. It can be roommates. It can be elderly abuse. It can be anybody who is within the household that's experiencing someone who's trying to gain power and control. Intimate partner violence is related specifically to a romantic partner. And you don't have to be living with the person. So as we'll see in the next slide, I believe, that is related to stalking and all of those kind of things, financial issues related to a romantic partnership. So that's the delineation between the two. And like I said, it is used interchangeably. I might still use them interchangeably in this presentation, but just knowing that there is a distinction, and researchers and people in academia are trying to be very specific about separating them because they both require different sets of treatment. They both require different support. For example, a parent and a child who's being neglected, that is a different kind of support than a woman who needs to leave her abuser. So they're paying close attention to how those two types of violence are different. And so these are the kinds of abuse from either one. And this is important, and as I share my story, you'll understand a little bit more, but a lot of times in multiple cultures, not just, Americans, Nigerians, Africans, what have you, the emphasis and focus is on the physical. And if that's not happening, people don't find it to be abuse, or they don't really put enough weight on it. But, as I share my story and, you all think about the people in your lives or yourself, you'll be able to understand that all of these have a significant impact on somebody's well-being. Emotional abuse, verbal, being constantly put down, those kind of things. They all have significant impact. So it is important to help educate people that just because he's not or she's not putting hands on you does not mean you're not being abused. I find that in a lot of my therapy sessions, where some of my male clients, they'll say, Mimi, I'm not being abused. And then I'll explain or help them understand something that they shared with me, and how that could be considered verbal abuse. Or if a woman is more financially stable, and in order to keep the guy from, going elsewhere, she'll be in charge of the finances so that she can assert that control. A lot of stalking, digital, that one is very, very silent, very hidden, and people who are the victims of that, they don't know how to stop that, because that's, being threatened of putting personal business on social media, for example. That would be an example of a digital form of abuse. And a lot of people, they don't want to be exposed for certain things. Like if you have, a medical condition that you don't want people to know, your abuser might threaten you that would go on, social media or something. And so someone might endure abuse because they don't want that to happen. So these are just some forms. All right. So my story. Okay. So in order to share my story, I have to take it back before I take it forward. So just hopefully y'all can follow me on this journey of sharing how I came to be here, being a conqueror, but also being in a space of empowering others. All right. So see this beautiful lady right here. Beautiful, all smiles and all of that. In this period of time in my life, you would not see me look like this at all. Um, to the left of me, I guess right to y'all, this was like 2 weekends ago, last weekend. The one to the right of me, that was my aunt's birthday party, 70s style, so rocking a wig. These are the types of things I could not do. I did not do then, because my abuser shut me out from the world, made everything that I liked and enjoyed and the people I enjoyed seem so unnecessary. He became my whole everything. So like I said, I have to take it back before I take it forward. Some of the things I have to help people understand, because there's a lot of guilt related to intimate partner violence. How did I let this happen? How did I let this happen? Each client, I help them walk through this, that you have to take it backwards before you find why you're here today. And in order for me to understand how I ended up with someone like this, I had to take it backward. So childhood wise, I lived with a family that was not my family. They were family friends. And I was there between ages 3 to 11. And what they did for those 8 years was pretty much abuse me in every way you could think of. So 3 to 11, physically abused. I remember the mom, it was a husband and wife. They didn't have kids when I first got there, but over time they end up having 4 children over the course of those 8 years. And I was abused. I can remember being a child and being lifted off the ground by my 2 ears. I could remember just God knows what different items being used to beat me. Um, I remember when one of the children was old enough, the mom would ask her to get something to beat me with. And then ultimately, the one that stands out above all, I mean, collectively all abuse, but the one that stands out more than anything is having something thrown at me. If you look at my picture, there's a mark right here, right there, and right here. When I was about 8 or 9, the mom of the home, she opened a can of milk. Her last born was a baby then. She opened a sharp edge of milk and threw it at my face. And all I remember was the hot pressure on my face. And I'm like, what is going on? I'm like 8 or 9. So I ran downstairs, and, when you are cut that deep, you do not see blood. All the doctors on the call, you can attest to that. You do not, if it's cut deep enough. All I saw was white meat. And I remember not receiving any kind of treatment. I'm a social worker, and we remove for way, way less. So when I think back, I'm like, whoa, I should have been removed from that home. But I went to school the next day. I think they put some kind of cartoon character Band-Aid on there. And I was sent off to school. I don't recall any teacher, maybe one teacher asked, I don't know, but basically I was able to return to the home, and I stayed in that home an additional 2 years. My face ended up being keloid for like the remainder of the time. As soon as I reunited with my mom, we were able to go and get that surgically to be what it is now. This is a part of my face for the rest of my life. And I remember that surgery, I pretty much was blind in both eyes. I could not see. I had to be helped to do everything. But thankfully, obviously, I can see, and that was not God's path for me. So I was able to kind of overcome that. But I'm telling y'all this story because my sole focus was no one in life will ever put hands on me, ever. It's not going to happen. I will kill them first. No man, no woman, no parent. Me and my dad, we used to have really tough times when I was living in the home with him as a teenager. And he would complain to my mom all the time, oh my gosh, come get this girl, come get this girl. And I was rebellious and I was angry, and I just wished he would put hands on me because I was ready. So my focus was nobody would ever. But I just ignored the fact that there were so many, and I won't say ignored because I didn't know, so many other ways that abuse can show up. Then fast forward to college, one of my best friends, she is talking about her parents, and she was talking about domestic violence and abuse, and almost every day her parents would be going at it. And we argued for like 2 hours, and I was like, there's no way. Like, why would she stay? That's crazy to me. Why would she stay? You just pack up your kids and leave. And that was my energy. And she argued, you don't understand. People can't just leave like that. She has kids. She's been in there. And I'm like, yeah, but you leave. You don't stay. And I was just so gung-ho. And I told myself, I will never, I've already said it. I will kill them first. It will never happen. No man will ever put hands on me. And I declared that day in college. So when I fast forwarded, finding myself in there, that was a tough realization because that's the first thing I flashed in my brain, that conversation. I met the gentleman as a master's level student at Howard. So in my mind, I should have known better. But, we'll talk about what knowing better looks like. I just had a breakup with an ex-boyfriend who was in England, and we couldn't do the international thing. So I was like, okay, you know what? Let's not do this. I was doing an assignment at the computer lab, and we connected, and he was nice looking, he was tall, he said all the right things, and he was local. That was the biggest thing. He was local. So I was like, okay, let's give it a shot. Red flags upon red flags to start. He smoked weed. He was not he was not moving forward in life. He was taking some classes at Howard, but to be honest, I couldn't tell you what his life goal was. Well, yeah, I can tell you his life goal. He wanted to be a rapper. Yeah, I just remembered. His life goal was he wanted to be a rapper. He had made a couple CDs. And here I was, a master's level student about to graduate with my master's in a year when I met him. And I just could not shake myself from this person. He basically made me feel like, all of what I needed in a man he had. And, all the other stuff, that's just being, judgmental. People come up with different things. You can be great in different ways, so we'll make it work. The other big piece was the fact that I wanted to be married. I had a rough childhood, and I wanted to be married. I wanted to have a child. The picture. I had the picture for so long. One of the biggest red flags was him knowing that, obviously having conversations in the beginning part when it was still good and he was trying to get in my head. He understood that very clearly, that, as a Nigerian young woman, my biggest dream was to be married one day and to have a child one day. And so as things would get worse with us, he would just basically gaslight, and I'll talk about what that means. He'll gaslight and tell me that my behavior was not becoming of a future wife. And if I wanted a future husband, I need to change. I need to behave. And so I would, go inward and Mimi, just behave, just act differently, just, you know. But the point is that for power and control, there is no behaving, because there's no answer to what he can define behaving today one way, define it differently tomorrow. But that's what, victims don't understand, because you're trying to like squeeze yourself into a certain bottle. He said I should try this, I'll try it, and then that very thing won't work tomorrow, because that's not the point. The point is to control you and see that just by his mere statement, you're jumping up and down. Um so we went through many things like that. Many arguments. He called me awful names. He talked about my weight. He talked about the people I hung out with, hence starting to shift away from the people that I loved. I remember him complaining about my mom and complaining that she wasn't nice to him. And I remember talking to my mom and saying, Mom, he just doesn't feel like you really like him. Can you just try better? And God bless her. She did her best. I'm a mom right now. I don't think I could give my daughter what she gave me. Trust me. But God bless my mom. She did her best, knowing and feeling like this wasn't right for her child. But she just, okay, if this is what she want, I will support her. But she was a praying mom. Thank God for praying moms, right? So she prayed and prayed and prayed. But everything ultimately culminated in a day or a trip to Vegas. And I treated my abuser to a trip to Vegas for his birthday. Getting to Vegas was pretty awful. My luggage was stolen from the airport. It landed at McCarran, but it just disappeared. It never showed up, never again. And we arrived in the evening, so all the stores were closed. So I basically stayed one night in the hotel room that I paid for, the rental car, everything. I stayed the first night with the clothes on my back, nothing to change into. Um, and then because this was his quote unquote birthday trip, it was that kind of energy. Like, I mean, that's your problem. Work it out. I'm here to have a good time. So it just, kept getting worse and worse and worse. Just different incidences. I don't want to take up too much time of all of the things, but the one thing that happened um, was me wanting to make myself feel better. He had a trip to do an ATV ride or something like that. So I told him to go ahead. I was going to go to the outlets. I love to shop. That makes me feel better. So I was going to go shopping. And I went to Michael Kors. I went and got a purse for myself. I got one for my sister and a friend of mine. And as soon as I walked out of the store heading back to the hotel, I was like, I don't know. I just had a sinking feeling that it was going to be a problem for some reason. We had fought about, me not spending enough money on him. He wanted to go to every buffet down the strip. And, he didn't want to spend a dime because it was his birthday trip, according to him. So why should he? So me complaining about money, and then now I've now bought 3 Michael Kors purses, that was going to be a problem. But I was like, but it shouldn't. But you know what? Just to be safe, I'll leave it in the trunk. And and then it came to the day that we were leaving to come back to Maryland, and I had to take it out of the trunk at this point and bring it upstairs, bring it to my suitcase and all that. And just as I knew, it was just, as soon as he saw them, it was just pandemonium. You claim you don't have any money. Here it is. You bought a purse. You bought 3 purses. Who is more important than me? Da 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 da. And then he just put his hand around my neck and dragged me to the ground. Like in this picture to, I guess, your right, I had braids similar to that. He dragged me up and down that hotel room by my braids, my full body weight. Not a slim girl. So when I looked up, he had patches of hair in his hand. Um, he bit me, he slapped me, he did God knows so many awful things. And I would cry and yell and tell him to stop and everything. And he basically told me that before he went to, he would go to, he was not going to go to jail behind me, that he will kill me first. So I was like, okay, all right, I got to get out of this room. I got to get out of this room. And as I was walking out of the hotel, like, I got to just get out of here. He's going to kill me. Um, he was running after me saying, I did not give you permission to walk out of this room. Like, get your blank blank back in here. And fortunately, other patrons in the hotel had heard a lot of commotion and called. And so police were walking right up to our room. And right as I saw the police, they were asking if I was okay. And I said yes. I just put on my shades. I said I was fine. I said I was fine. I said I was fine because I just wanted to get out of there. And I wanted to go home. And I just wanted to get out of there. So with me saying it was okay, that made him feel like, yeah, she's going to be okay and she's not going anywhere and we're going to be fine. But I felt that because this has started this way, it was not going to end. I felt in that room, in that moment of all the different things that he had gotten, like he had done all these other awful things leading up to that day in Vegas, but stopped short of putting hands on it. And I saw that shift in I guess that's what I would call it, a shift in the hotel room that, well, we're here now. And I just felt like, Mimi, he's going to kill you one day. But in saying that, I did not leave upon getting to Maryland. I didn't leave for that fact. I mean, the best that I can say is that I became a little more defiant. Like, I spoke up more, but we were together and I hated myself. I hated myself so much because that was the one thing I said I would never allow. And I just failed to understand the total picture, all of the ways that he had been abusing me. Definitely not considering that the ugliness from my childhood set me up for things such as this. So I had a training in July, and one of the attendees asked me, so then, Mimi, what did it? What made you leave? And what made me leave was not even related to my personal abuse. I felt like, I felt stuck personally, but I did not want it to be extended to my family. And I think the last day that I said enough was us talking on the phone. He's cursing and fussing and yelling about God knows what. And then he said something about my mom. And I was like, well, no, he can't extend that to my mom. That's not going to be okay. And I just asked him, he said something pretty awful. I can't remember. And keeping in mind, he had left awful messages about me on my mom's voicemail too. So she came home on her answering machine, heard messages about her daughter from him on her voicemail. So all those things were already happening. So when he said this, whatever, I can't even remember now, to be honest, what he said about her that particular day. This was maybe 3 months after Vegas. And I just asked him, you said what? And he was like, well, you heard me. You heard me. I said, but say it again, though. Say it again. And he said it again. I was like, okay, yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought you said. Okay. All right, we're done. And then I hung up. And I felt so free, felt such a release. I can't even explain it. And he called. I used to work at a home with adults with disabilities, and so he he would come on the weekend sometimes just to hang out when the people were out. So he knew my job. He knew the home very well. And so he was calling my cell phone. I turned that off. He was calling the house phone. And so, I was done. I was finally done. Yes. The next morning, one of my guys was leaving out to go to his day program, and we opened the door. The guy was walking out, the abuser was walking in. Um, it was preparing for this that I realized that a lot of women don't have it like that. He could have walked in and just ended my life. Um, so I'm really grateful that that's not the case. But he walked in basically trying to reconcile, and I was just done. I was done. Um, and so we just kind of let it go like that. He would try to call here and there, but I was just done. So many things had gone terribly wrong in that year and a half. I'd lost friendships. Um, he manipulated me into not going to a really good friend's wedding. So I was really, really dealing with the guilt of that. And so, which brings me to the writing of the book, and I'm going to share a couple more slides just to kind of help us and help other folks who are dealing with this. What I found important to write about in my book, that will be coming out soon, prayfully, is what happens after. Because a lot of women here just leave. I said that, right? I said it years ago. Just leave. All you gotta do is leave. A lot of women will tell you, where am I going? What am I doing? Who do I talk to? What do I do? Um, I fortunately did not have a financial connection with him. So it wasn't that my whole well-being or my livelihood was based on him. So I could take care of myself, but my own area was more of the emotional piece, and I had to really pick up the pieces on that. Um, so I really talk about some strategies to help people deal with the aftermath of leaving, because if you are someone or someone, that it's hard to tell someone just leave. They're not going to until they're ready. So I think that there's a lot of value in helping people have hope on what happens afterwards. So I will shift to the next slide. Just want to cover some myths about DV and IPV. So DV is a private matter, IPV is a private family matter. It is not. It is it's everyone's business. It's a community, societal epidemic. So as I shared earlier in the statistics that I had you all, that I was sharing at the beginning of this, you think about $37 million towards medical treatment for someone who has gone through that. That is money that is not well spent. It should be going towards building our children's education and our roads and just a lot of things that we need in the community. That's just one example of ways that it impacts all of us. And that's, medical professionals who have to stay and deal with treating someone, and then they having vicarious trauma and they needing treatment for all the things that they're seeing in the facilities. So it's everyone's business, and it's all our jobs to address it. DV IPV is not punishable, so it's no big deal. It actually is very punishable. If someone is charged with assault in the second degree, for example, you can have up to 10 years, or a minimum, I should say, of 10 years. And if you happen to unfortunately kill someone because of domestic violence, you can have 25 years to life. Domestic violence, intimate partner violence is an impulse or anger control, impulse control and anger management problem. That is a myth. The purpose of anyone who is an abuser of intimate partner violence is to gain power and control. That's all it is. And they see it from afar. They get a couple signs here and there that, okay, she needs something from me. She's going to be, she's going to stay by me. She's not going anywhere. My abuser knew that I was not going to tell police that I just went through X, Y, and Z in the hotel. He knew that because he had my mind. And so it's about that power. And the reason why he came the next day showing up at my job was because he understood that, I think I might have lost it. Let me try and regain it. DV, IPV only happens in certain kinds of communities. It happens everywhere, to every race, every creed, everybody. So there's no special kind of people who deal with it. It's in every race. There's some races who experience it more, like Native Americans, African American women, for example, they experience it more, but it's everywhere. Children who witness IPV will end up in abusive relationships, not necessarily. They are at greater risk, but if they experience protective factors like, a loving home or caring professionals, or maybe they have a favorite teacher at school, for example, that they can talk to, then it kind of reduces that a little bit. It is easy for victims to leave. I've already shared that. It is not, and every case is different. And you have to, for those of us who are working with people or even us ourselves, find out what those reasons are, what is holding you back, or what is holding that person back, and help them kind of dispel that hold. Women are the only victims of IPV. Sorry, I skipped one. Victims provoke their partner's violence. There's never, ever, ever an excuse for domestic violence. Lastly, women are the only victims. This is important to share because, like I shared earlier, I have a lot of male clients who also are experiencing domestic violence and intimate partner violence. I just wanted to pop this in to kind of show you all that the first time of IPV that someone can experience is between age 11 to 17. But the larger number is in this 18 to 24 range. And that's where mostly women, but some men as well, are at the greater risk. And I also found this today in preparing for this, that just to show y'all again and to reiterate that it happens everywhere. So it's not more rural or more metropolitan or, north versus south. It's everywhere. The map shows that Kentucky, I want to dig more into that. I don't know why yet, but Kentucky has the highest rate, followed by Nevada, followed by Alaska. But as you can see, there's no white state, meaning that every state has some color in it, meaning that there's some reporting. And as I say this, just wanting to note that this is probably still underreporting, because keeping in mind, I fall in the group of not reporting. And I never reported my abuser to law enforcement, not one time. So if I and thousands of other people not reporting are out there, then this is way underreporting. So that's why it's very important for us to expose it so that people can feel more comfortable. So there's some terms here that we all have heard at some point or the other, whether movies or people are talking about it. But these are ways that intimate partner violence can be hidden, and it might slide under the radar. You may not know that this is what's happening. that you're experiencing intimate partner violence, but these are some of the words that will come up in that regard, but they're all part of that power and control. For example, love bombing. Your abuser will send you all these gifts, give you all these compliments, and basically the whole point is to kind of keep you in that control of basically keep wanting to get more of that. And if you've lacked that, then you're not going to go anywhere, because it's like, well, Johnny sends me flowers every Tuesday and flowers make me happy. So I'm going to, yeah, he does some other stuff, but, he shows me love, and I'm okay with that. I can manage the other things. Gaslighting is where the abuser is manipulating what's going on to make you kind of question your own reality, question your intuition, make you feel like what you're thinking about something just doesn't really make sense. And I mean, before you met the person, that you would never think like this, or you would never believe something, but all of a sudden, you're dealing with this person and they're making you feel like, like you're crazy for thinking anything other than what they've shared. And it makes you distort reality, and question yourself at every turn. I have one of the biggest things with clients who I work with who have been in intimate partner violence is that reality testing. That in normal circumstances, take yourself out of it, for example, would you do this? Or if you saw somebody else do this, what would you say? And usually my clients are very clear on what they would tell a friend, but they fall short on their own. So that's how we help them reality test. And then this word negging basically is negging is where they kind of give you kind of an underhanded kind of how can I say, not a compliment, but it's like an underhanded statement to where they make you diminish your self-confidence. And for example, I guess the best way I can do this is give y'all an example. Like my abuser, what he would do is tell me what every ex-girlfriend used to do. Basically tell me that I'm a pretty terrible girlfriend, and if I was a good girlfriend, I would, my ex-girlfriend used to take me on to the bed and breakfast, and we would have like a really romantic weekend away. And, we haven't done anything like that. And so it would make me, think about it. And I'm not feeling confident. And as I thought about it, honestly, I'm like, I think that's where Vegas came about. Like, okay, she took you to a bed and breakfast. I'm going to do her one up. I'm going to do a Vegas trip. Neither one of us have been to Vegas. So that's what negging is. They kind of give you, like, they kind of make a statement where they make you feel less confident, which then allows them to get what they're ultimately trying to get, whatever that is. So that's what negging means. All right. Whoops. Okay, so risk factors, poverty, obviously, if there are things that are impacting the day-to-day needs, people can't get their needs met. Children end up in places like foster care, or in a space where they don't always feel physically and emotionally safe. So that's a risk factor. That's not an automatic guarantee that person will end up in intimate partner violence, but definitely a risk factor. As I shared earlier, witnessing intimate partner violence doesn't guarantee it either, but it certainly raises the risk factor for it. Mental health, depression, broken homes, those kind of things raise the risk factors for intimate partner violence. Okay, so this adverse childhood experiences, this is something that was researched back in 1995. Two researchers wanted to see the connection between people's breakdown in their health, like high blood pressure, obesity, those kind of things, and connect them to if they experienced anything in their childhood that could potentially impact their, their growth, for example. And ACEs, as they call it for short, um, it's between the ages of 0 to 18. Sorry, 0 to 17. And so when you take the quiz, I retook it today. So I wanted to show y'all, based on my childhood, my score is 6. Um, 6 is high, but I've definitely worked with clients who were in the 8s and 9s. You don't want to be high in number. You want it to be, 0, 1, 2, those kind of things. But, I went through a lot. Went through, abuse, separation from my family, that kind of thing. So I put the link of this on the back of this slide. So for anybody who wants to, or you can also Google it, ACEs assessment, if you want to find out about yourself. But also on that link, it tells you how to break down your score pretty much. And I help clients do this as well. When they see it, there's something that happens when you are literally looking. It's 10 questions. So it's really, really quick, about 3 minutes. And it asks you questions related to abuse, neglect, separation. Was someone an alcoholic when you were growing up? Was someone sent to prison when you were growing up? Those kind of things. And it'll allow you to, it'll give you an immediate score. So this was my score, retaking it today. Impact. And just a couple more slides for us to get through, and then I want us to chit chat. Impact of domestic violence, intimate partner violence. As I shared related to the ACEs, there's a lot of risk factors, but also health issues, both mentally and physically. So you'll have someone really dealing with depression. You'll have someone dealing with anxiety, obesity. I was never a small person, but with my abuser constantly talking about, I need to lose weight, I'm so fat, I'm this, I'm that. I tried everything to try and lose weight. It just never would happen because all these other things were going on. I was depressed. I was anxious. I had trouble maintaining my healthy relationships because all of them had to pretty much disappear because he didn't want me around them. So poor self-esteem, definitely, I was not confident in myself. So these are just some. There's a long, long list, but I just wanted to share a few with y'all. And then, of course, low success rate. If I stayed with that person, I certainly wouldn't be here today talking to you all. But, there's a lot of things I've done in the last 15 years that just probably wouldn't have happened. So those are some of the impacts. Why is it hard? The biggest thing is fear of a lot of things. I just put a couple here just for you all to see. But these are just some fear factors for victims. I will be judged. I know better. How did I end up here? And especially like someone like me, I definitely was the one giving a lot of advice to other people. Even though I hadn't gotten my master's at the beginning of the relationship, I definitely got it during the relationship, and I was already practicing social work. So I definitely knew better in my mind. Um, Fear of feeling responsible for the abuse. So often victims feel like I'm the cause, I'm the one that brought this on myself. If I could just behave like I shared earlier, then none of this would happen. Fear of speaking up. A lot of women, I am definitely, I feel very blessed that he wasn't the type to come after me and harm. Once the relationship was over, it kind of fizzled out and it was over. A lot of women don't experience that. A lot of people don't experience that. Men are stalked too. Men are killed too. So sometimes people just kind of don't speak up because they don't want to be retaliated against. Um, and then sometimes people don't feel supported. A lot of times, I remember reading a story recently where a woman who ended up being she was abused in many different ways, but talked about going to her family, sharing it. And I know we all probably have heard different stories like that, but what she basically shared was that her family told her to go back. That family was a prestigious family. To be married to that family was, that gave them some kind of status. And so the woman kind of felt trapped. She didn't get support from her family. And so she kind of endured a lot because of that. But these are just a few things. There's many different reasons why victims don't talk about it. So I want to jump into quickly strategies for the conquerors. These are some. I want y'all to read the book, so I'm not giving away all the goodies, but I put in some of them that I wrote in the book, just so we can have conversations about it on this call. Alone is an illusion. So any conqueror out there on this call, watching on YouTube, what have you, that idea that you're alone is just an illusion. Those who loved you before intimate partner violence still love you. Maybe some have ended because of, your decision to stay, things like that. But like, for example, for me, I was not alone. My family rallied around me so much. I felt so loved. I didn't, my abuser really tried hard to sever, even between me and my mom, my siblings. I wasn't the person that those who know me now know. I just wasn't. And he did a good job of making me feel like if I'm not with him, I have nothing, I have no one. And I just slowly started to kind of peel back those layers and understand that no, nothing has changed. Everybody still loves me. Yes, some relationships have shifted, but for the most part, my family still loves me and they're there. And they were so amazing and so supportive. I still have a few people who were close friends of mine at that period that I'm still friends with now, that remember that really difficult period. So no, you're not alone. You can receive help. You can get the love again. Um, One of the biggest things that conquerors deal with is the blame of how did I let this happen and things like that. And I share in the book about assigning the blame to who it belongs to. Yes, you made certain decisions, but you did not perpetrate those things on yourself. You did not cause yourself the physical pain, the psychological pain. You were hurting before, possibly, but there was someone who saw that and sought to exploit it. So assign that. Um, and once you do that, then you start working against that notion that you are to blame for everything that happened to yourself. Um, don't ignore warning signs. There's quite a few warning signs. You see someone is who is jealous of everything. And like I said, with my abuser, it was all the people that he knew I loved started to try to chip away at that. And this person, she's super slutty. You don't want to hang out with her. If you hang out with her, then everybody thinks that you're one. And it's like, and then, oh, the family. And so that happened. And if it were me, I wouldn't accept that. And so he had lots of opinions about everything. That's a warning sign. And I'm trying to think, there's so many, and we can dive into that, but someone who wants to isolate you for sure, someone who is calling you out of your name. That is something that is unacceptable. Um, Someone who has things to say about your physical appearance, they met you as you were. If there's a problem, then they can go. But if you're finding that all of a sudden every day they have a problem with the way you look, the way you dress, the kind of people you hang out with, someone who wants to control what's happening in your phone, someone who is fake hitting. That's one thing that I talk to clients about when they're doing the love tap thing. That's not cute. No, we're not playing around with that. Those are little warning signs that people need to just kind of um, look out for. And but also, like I said, the hitting thing, people kind of highlight that. I will never let someone hit, or at least he's not hitting. Um, there are things in between that you have to kind of note. And we are, even though we've gone through a lot, there are things that we can identify doesn't feel so good. And once you start feeling like that, definitely do reality testing with someone to just say, hey, um, this conversation happened like this. What do you think? Someone that you trust. Obviously, you don't want to ask a ton of people because a lot of opinions cause problems, but someone that you trust their opinion, and just ask, hey, this is what he said, or this is what she said. What do you think? And then just kind of, you know, figure that out and then get more help as needed. I put heal, get help immediately. In the book, I talk about, there's the saying, time heals all wounds, time does not. Healing heals all wounds. If you spend a lot of time just saying, one day I'm going to heal from being abused, it's never going to happen. You're going to need to take very specific action on healing, getting the help, talking to the right people, talking to a therapist, talking to your pastor, making those deliberate steps because you want to heal, not, because what usually happens, what happened with me, what happens with other conquerors is that you just going through the motions. You were able to, like for me, I graduated and I started work, and, I was just living life, and, time is going on and you're like, okay, yeah, eventually. But there is a lot of residue of all the things from my childhood, from this relationship that I realized didn't go anywhere until I started to talk about it. So get help, please. Re-engage spiritually. Um, for me, I speak about this in my book as well, that there is no way that I will be sitting here in front of you all this evening if I didn't tap back in with my maker. That was absolutely vital. And I remember feeling left behind, feeling ignored, feeling unloved. Of course, now I'm connecting it to my childhood. So I'm like, but God, what's up? You keep letting things happen to me. What is going on? Why? Why me? What is up? There's 5 kids in my family. Why do these things keep happening to me? And God just kind of working me through um not answering me why, but telling me that he loves me, period. And that's all you need to know. And just slowly working me through that comfortable place of tapping into him on a daily basis, talking to him, opening my heart again, that kind of thing. Re-engage socially. Definitely the things that you did enjoy. All of the things I used to do. I used to decorate. I used to do all these things. All people used to call me to decorate a lot, and all of a sudden, during that year and a half, 2 years or whatever, with with my abuser, I did not decorate because I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't go anywhere. So saying that I'm going to a party, that would be me meeting some guy there, and who are these people anyway, and blah blah blah. So I just didn't do any of the things that I enjoyed. Um And so I was able to re-engage. And so I implore conquerors to re-engage. Flip back to my pictures that I showed during my story. That's me just living my best life, loving the people that are in my life. People know that I'm a traveling queen, so I'm on a plane if I can be. My mom just came to the place of being okay with that because I'm flying somewhere, period. But re-engage socially, you'll live the life God wanted to have for you. And then last but not least, use it. Use it, use it, use it. The traumatic thing that happened to you isn't meant to be buried. It's meant to inspire. It's meant to pull someone else out their dark place. um, I've been using it in a way in therapy as needed. I don't go in depth as I've done today. This is the most, and I've prayed. I prayed a lot. I'm like, God, this is the most I've opened up about what happened to me in this detail. So I most definitely have not shared this with clients. However, just saying, hey, as a fellow conqueror, you can do it. These are the things that you can do. But this is the way God wants me to use it now. Like, put myself completely out there, and share it in a way where not only humanizes me, but someone else can see the other side of it. And I continue therapy, by the way. I'm a therapist, but I have my therapist that I've had for 7 years. So it allows me to, as I deplete myself helping my clients, I'm able to be filled back up with someone like-minded. Um, but use your story. It is not something that is this ugly, private, secret, something in the back that no one can ever know. No, you are a conqueror. So step out there and let us unearth and bring this ugliness forward, so the abusers don't have room to hide what they're doing anymore. And then lastly, for those of us who are helping a conqueror, if you see something, say something. The reason why IPV, DV, they've had room to breathe and grow is because too many of us look the other way. There's so many stories of, oh yeah, I used to hear this all the time. And oh yeah, I heard them fighting. And oh yeah, that's the Johnsons, or that's the Adeyamis, whatever. I'm sorry if there's any Adeyamis in there, but just an example. But we constantly are looking the other way, and it's time for us to not look the other way. We can um end this. We can help a fellow brother, fellow sister. If you see something, say something. um Give judgmental support. The last thing someone needs, having gone through intimate partner violence, is, well, I told you you should have left. And I knew this was coming, and look at you now. Those kind of things. One of the things that I always remember is my mom, after I had left, feeling very, very low, wanting to just talk to her. And I wanted her to just be my mom. I didn't want, well, the Bible says, or God says, or just give it to God. I didn't want any of that. I just wanted her to just be my mom. And, I don't know if God just sent from my mind to her mind or whatever, but the day that I called her, that's exactly what I got. And it just made me unleash everything that I held so privately and secretly. And I imagine it was really tough for her. She's on the call tonight. So I thank God for my mom for giving me that day. Um, I'm saying that publicly, Mom. that that really helped me start the process of coming back to be who I am today. Just receiving that love, receiving that, or dispelling that illusion of aloneness. Because my mom gave me that. She made me laugh that day. We cried. I told her about Vegas. It was just, and I don't know what she did after that call ended, if she cried some more or whatever. But, like I said, a praying mom, that's all we can all hope for. Provide resources as requested. Do not give resources to someone who is not ready, willing, but have them ready. As you give non-judgmental support, they will be at a place to receive the resources. Help them re-engage spiritually, pray for them, allow them to come back to that space of fellowship, because that's important. There's a lot of growth and healing that comes from being received back into a space where you can all pray together and talk about God's love and things like that. Re-engage them socially. So if someone is trying to come back into things that they used to do because they've been removed for so long, and they're trying to re-engage, but you see them kind of fall into the back, if you note that, pull them back in and let them know that they're welcome. And then lastly, healing as a family. This was something that my therapist actually, as I was sharing my book, she was like, do not leave this part out. It's important to understand that there is a collateral, I don't want to say damage, but there's a lot of pain that came with the fact that someone was an intimate partner of violence. And it's important to find out how the family can heal together. So me and my mom, my siblings, we've all talked about this as a whole, and they were able to share with me their, the ways that they feared for me, and I was also able to share with them, and we would pray and really, because once you've gone through that, the family's always going to be on edge. Who's she going to bring next time? Who's he going to bring next time? Are they going to harm them? Do we need to be on guard? How do we need to rally around? Those kind of things. So we need to make sure that the family is also cared for. And this is the number for domestic violence. This is the hotline, 20,000 calls a day, but they are available to you to receive your call, to help you, to whatever you need. They will provide resources. So if I'll leave this on for about 30 seconds, please take down this number, so that you know that you are not actually alone, for real. And then here I am. Like I said, I'm published almost. My book is not quite out, but it will be very, very soon. I have a book launch on October 19th. That's my website, and the book title is called A Whole New World. Domestic violence awareness, as Dr. O said at the beginning, is next month. So there's going to be a ton of activities. Let's break the silence together. Let's make this not a shadowy in the background issue. Let's bring it to the forefront and break the silence. Let people have the empowerment, or allow themselves to feel empowered to come forward. And last but not least, that's me and my lovely daughter, Olivia Moyolua. She's somewhere in the back. But if you want to stay in contact with me, and please do this this QR code or scan this, that will allow me to have your information, so that when the book is out, I will personally send it to you so that you can purchase it on Amazon and all the other places. And I think that concludes my presentation. Any questions? I'm gonna stop sharing.
Ooh,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you so much for making yourself vulnerable for our purposes. Thank you. As you
Yeah.
said, so many out there who still need to come out and talk, for healing to occur, for them to conquer. Thank you, because this is real. And by the way, you are beautiful.
Thank you.
I have to say that. I put it in the chat box. I didn't do too much on the chat box today. And, normally on Medical Mondays, As you know, you will see, as speakers, we don't speak this long. I don't do it, but this time, this is real. And I've just allowed this to take its natural course. And stay tuned, because next month we're going to have more of this. It's Domestic Violence Month. Dr. Ajagbe, you have a question. Kindly unmute and ask your question. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Mimi.
Yes.
I warned you ahead of time that you're going to get a lot of engagement today. So, but seriously, there are a lot of things that, basically you unearthed, just by your sharing. Well, I wanted to know, what role does substance abuse have on this issue? Because you made a mention earlier, maybe I'm the only one that got it, but I heard that you said that your abuser was a marijuana user.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think could be the role of that? Could there be a situation where there is a correlation between when he was using and when he wasn't using? Because sometimes mind-altering chemicals can change human behavior just on the dime. So that's one. The other thing is, what does temporary insanity have to do with it?
Okay, I'll address the first one.
And let me just add the third one. The third one
Okay.
then is, I guess that turning the other cheek doesn't exceed one time. See, well, scripturally, you hear people say, turn the other cheek. The Bible didn't say turn the other cheek 2 times. It says turn it once.
Mm-hmm.
So when somebody slaps you on one side, you turn the other cheek, then what do you do afterwards?
Right.
So I think those 3 things might be able to address some issues. Substance abuse,
Mm-hmm.
temporary insanity, and turning the other cheek.
I'll do my best on the second one. I don't know the temporary insanity, but I'll definitely address the first. So what the research says is that with the use of substances, alcohol, marijuana, heroin, all those, that it enhances what the person would have done anyway. So even when they aren't on the substances, there still is a power and control issue. That's something that is impacted by, and keeping in mind that abusers, they may have also more than likely also experienced ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. So this is their way of kind of addressing their stuff. But the research does say that it enhances, it does not, the power and control aspect doesn't disappear because now they have now used substances. It enhances it. So while he might or she might be physically violent ordinarily, when they are on substances, and it's even more so, it's even more violent. It's enhanced times 10, times 100. That's what I've seen. And with my abuser, I definitely saw evidence of that where, it could be a regular day, nothing happened. I shared this in the book. I was still in school, so I was talking about a book that I read in school, and he was so angry that I didn't stand up for banning this book, and he just started this big argument, and I know he hadn't used anything. He hadn't. We were just there. It was just a regular day, and he just blew up in such a way that I was so confused. So for him, it was more so me consoling him to not be angry anymore. So that's just one example, but basically it enhances. It doesn't cancel it out, or if they don't use substances, the power and control piece is gone. No, it's that piece. I want to control this other person to get my needs met some kind of way, and I'm going to get that any kind of way. So that aspect is what the research shows, and I saw personally. Temporary insanity. Can you go a little bit more as to which? I don't know. I mean, I don't know much about that. I'll be honest on how to answer that question. And what was the third?
The third one is
Then the
turning the
other
other cheek.
The other cheek. Okay.
Turning the other cheek more than once. It's not biblical.
It's not. It's definitely not biblical, but also
Dr.
um,
the
sorry.
Bible did not specify how many times.
Exactly. Thank you.
The other cheek means only once. The
It did
other
not
cheek
say.
did not say 10 times, 20 times.
There was no
Exactly. There
qualifier.
is no qualifier. Like
we
you said.
can go over this for the next 20 years, but this doesn't change anything.
We have only two cheeks now.
We have only two cheeks. Exactly. We have only two cheeks. How many other cheeks do you have? You have only two cheeks.
But how about sometimes 7 times?
That's a different ball game.
No,
He didn't say
no,
anything
no,
about
no, no,
he didn't say anything about cheeks in that 70 times 7.
Okay,
You
Dr.
just said
Jagbe, Dr. Jagbe, please.
Let me
20
answer
times
this
7,
question.
and I'm going to defer to you in a minute,
Okay.
Attorney Tinu, to answer the question. But Dr. Jagbe, like you said, the Bible did not specify 1 time, 10 times, 100 times. Turn the other cheek in every situation. Please, let's leave it there because it's not it's we're
I'm
not.
sorry, Dr. O. Please.
Wait, Doctor.
Please now.
Okay, go ahead.
The Bible also says that if your left eye causes you to sin, pluck it out. If my husband is going to make me think about killing him, why don't I just bye-bye?
100%. You're right on the money. 100%. But that's
so what happened to the
wait,
70
Dr.
times
Jagbe,
7?
hold on, Dr. Jagbe, please. That is not turning the other cheek.
Right.
That is actually being smart. That is the right decision to make. Dr. Gulaye has nothing to do with turning the other cheek. And forgiving 70 times 7 times is totally in line with turning the other cheek. Two different things. Attorney Tinu, where are you?
I'm here. I can see
I'm
myself.
referring to you. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Dr. Agage, for your questions. Actually, I was reading the chat, but let me go back. Let me just
No,
start.
please don't go to the chat because, and I want to.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
Just 1 second. We're going to do things the way we do it on Medical Mondays. You raise your
Yes.
hand, you get to talk. I will go through the chat and I will do it the way we do it. Mimi, help me to try to make the answers concise.
Okay.
Because it's almost 8:28 and we want all questions to be answered.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Attorney Tinu, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, I was going to say that I had questions, but when Dr. Agagbe started talking, then I added some things because of his question. But first off, let me say thank you, Mimi Aramide, for your testimonials, I would say, because this is your truth, and for the boldness, for breaking that silence, coming out to share. It takes courage, it takes the grace of God, and for also turning around your life, to be, it's like you make your lemon into lemonade. That is very important. And my second thing is to say a big thank you to Mommy, because when you were sharing, I jotted down something about the judges. You referred to them. That's where I will start my issue. But my last thing that I wanted to say when you talked about your mother. I'm also saying thank you, mommy, for creating that safe space. I said this to myself, for creating that safe space for Aramide and for allowing her to have a turnaround in her life now. Because, yeah, we all know as Nigerians and as Africans, we tend to say, well, husband and wife will do quarrel, just don't worry, things will be fine, pray about it, yada, yada, yada. But I thank you for actually, when you started your presentation, I've been here, you said something about abuse can take any form. And then you tend to distinguish between all those forms of abuse. Now, the one that you're really focused on is the intimate partner one, which could be because every one of these people, they live in the same household to some extent. Could be mom and child or father and mom and all that. So, but now going there to that, what we need to walk away with here is this. Husband and wife has issue, they always have issues. Yorubas will say, I want to manja. Yes, but
Okay.
I want to. What distinguishes domestic violence? Yeah, Aramide says power and control, and everybody know that. But the intensity, the frequency of that abuse is what separates that okwatiawoni or something. So that is it right there. Your answer, Dr. Ajagbe, to turning the other cheek. No, I can't be turning the other cheek when it's frequent, when the intensity is so, it's not like, yeah, they say part of abuse is when somebody shove you, when they push you, but sometimes when it's consistent, and the intense of pushing, of shoving, of slapping, of, that is also there. Now, when you first started talking, you talked about, oh yeah, you try to, you said something about they want, people who always used to say, how are you abused when you don't have physical traits or marks? It used to be. But in the last 10 years, the judges are being trained even much more. They have advanced trainings now. And even attorneys every year. I remember when I was doing the second thing, I was on panel in DC for child abuse and neglect. We always have periodic training so that they shift our attention and focus on to things that are necessary, the traits, things that you need to look for. It could be verbal, it could be psychological, it could, the economic practice there. Even now, with us being immigrants, the immigration thing is there. You are scaring that person. I will go on to IRS or immigration for you, ICE for you, all those things. Yeah, that is right there. Now, so I just wanted you to know that judges now know that it's not just the physicalness that they are looking for. In fact, they can ask you some kind of questions that will that will tell them, oh yeah, this person is actually abused. Yeah. Now, the other thing I wanted to say is about the question Dr. Ajagbe said about temporary insanity. That is a legal question. And I see some attorneys here. They will want to jam me if I'm not true. Okay, so there is never any excuse for abuse, plain and simple. I don't care if you're using, I don't care if you're drinking, you say, yeah, it's because I drank, I have lost my memory. You should have known, right? Yeah. That's the position of the law. And then, of course, the frequency, the intensity. So why is it that you hide under alcohol or under substance abuse when you want to beat me? Or you hide under other things when money just came in, stuff like that. Because before you know it, people will be dead. Now, for said that the other, okay, power and control, no excuse. Did I miss anything, Dr. Ajagbe? I'm done anyway.
Yes, be done because I'm going to the next person. We have a lot of people and I wanted
I'm done. I'm done. Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Aramide. Yeah.
Thank you for rounding that up, and thank you especially for taking care of that temporary insanity question. Appreciate you. Thank you. So this is our financial guru. I keep telling you, connect with him, Mr. Imwadi.
Thank you, Dr. O. Thank you so much, Counselor, for such a powerful experience in resilience, actually, really. You know, I wanted to talk about in your practice, though, how much of the financial consequences that comes out of domestic abuse do you deal with? And I ask that question because over the years, in my practice, as a wealth management advisor, I've worked with people, attorneys, family attorneys, who we've partnered together to give presentations to the community on the fallouts of abuses, what happens either post the abuse or during the abuse, for that matter, the financial implications of all this.
What I've personally dealt with is people feeling trapped. I haven't dealt with someone just holding the victim's finances hostage, but the victim feeling like I just got a new client about 2 weeks ago, and it's obvious intimate partner violence, but she doesn't feel the ability to move onto her own space because she doesn't have enough income. So he's not holding her income hostage. She's just not making enough, and he knows that. And so he is making statements telling her that she'll mess up her life if she leaves. And so at the stage that she's coming to therapy brand new 2 weeks ago, obviously she wants to leave. That's what she's telling me, but she doesn't feel the ability to leave. She doesn't have the support from family to leave. And so that's what I found. I haven't really found it the other way where someone, is in their finances and they can't get access to it. It's just someone not having enough or not being able to just make those moves and just leave. That's what I've experienced. So
Thank you.
I've worked with that new client on strategies to take care of that.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
I've got your information. I'd like to follow up regarding some of the things that I think we can both combine to reach out to the community. Thank you.
Sure.
So I will connect both of you. This is the beauty of Medical Mondays. We're talking about domestic violence and intimate partner violence, but the rest of us in medicine, in law, and all that are not thinking of finances. Our financial guru, our wealth management guru, of course, has experience and is thinking about it. That's one of the beauties and blessings that we have here. I will definitely connect both of you guys. Thank you. And see how to bring you back again when you liaise so that we can bring it back to our family here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nkechi, kindly unmute. Thank you.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Good evening, all the way from California. Welcome.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say I do appreciate the speaker, and I really want to say this, that I appreciate you so much that even when you were speaking, I feel that you healed and you didn't even cry. You got yourself back. Thank you so much, because you went through a lot. And the way you were speaking from a deep experience, and all the things that you said were real truths. So I'm going to break down some few things that I picked from what you said. All you said was true. And I'll also answer the question of the older gentleman that talked about turn your face. I feel that word makes me feel that we're not taking domestic violence serious. Domestic violence is real. It's very dangerous. It's bad. Anybody that had gone through it will understand what I'm saying. I'm a survivor. Not to talk of it, I'm also a victim of a stalker. So it's power control. These people want to take control, right? And then the last man I just spoke about financial hostage, right? I experienced that. My stalker is not somebody that I had a relationship with in any way, but he had so much power to be able to hold me back financially. There was no job that I would go to. As a graduate, I went to medical school in Nigeria and I came here. I went to school. I got my master's. I'm a science teacher. I'm doing well. The minute I'm doing well, he knows I'm breaking away. He finds a way. He's well connected. He will find a way to make them lay me off from a job. So that's why I'm creating an event next month. You understand? So we should all commend you for what you did. And then the other thing that really helped you so much is your parents. I didn't have that. Your mom stood by you. The word, I'm an Igbo girl, but I speak Yoruba very well, right? The Igbo thing is like, if you're the first daughter, you can't be a divorcee. It's a shame. But my abuser was very educated. He doesn't smoke or drink. Very, very quiet. One of the best students. He went to Futo. He read engineering. Very, very quiet. Nobody ever believed that he was mentally, physically abusing me. And my parents were, my mother especially, who wanted me to marry him, to stay with an Igbo man, made me stay and said, hey, it's okay. It's going to be okay. You guys will settle. He started from Nigeria. He didn't even start from here. He started from Nigeria. My mom said, oh, if you guys go to America, everything will be okay. When he's rich, he won't be beating you. When he was even better, that's when he was beating me more. So I do want everyone on this line to understand that domestic violence is real. It's not something that we joke about. It affects us mentally, physically, psychologically. If you had gone through it, you understand what I'm saying. So turning right cheek or no right cheek does not come into play when it comes to things like this. We are all created equal. Why would somebody marry me and think he's going to beat me? Can't he talk to me? Am I a goat that he has to beat me up? Or somebody that I don't have a relationship with and wants me to by force marry him. Tony, the word is kò sí obìnrin tó lè sọ fóun pé bó má ṣe òun gbẹ́sẹ̀ lóbìnrin yẹn ni. And obìnrin yẹn ò lè ṣe kí ni. That woman will never make it. He will make that woman's life miserable. And he's doing it. So I do want everyone, please, when we see something, say something, help the people that are going through domestic violence. Please do not judge them because you're not there. A man can come outside from public and act nice, but what he does inside, many people don't know. So domestic violence is real. There are some men that are narcissistic. They believe that women are slaves. And women should not say anything, even if they are going through this. Even our parents too, our mothers too. So I commend you. Thank you so much. And I love what you just did. God bless your mom for standing by you. My mom is not here today. She's gone. She's regretting her action. So thank you. I love you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dr. Jagbe, I'll revert to you in a minute. At this point, I would like to have Mimi's mom to please unmute. Kindly unmute your camera. Kindly unmute.
Be shy.
Want us to
Don't be shy, Mom.
to say thank you. Don't be shy. We as a community, we as Medical Mondays with Dr. O family want to say thank you. I don't care, please, if you are in your PJs or anything, dressing down, it's okay. Let's just see your face. Kindly unmute. These are my aunties.
Mom, you know how to unmute?
Wait a minute. That's your mom?
In the purple, right here.
Where?
Hand pay. She's in the purple.
Kindly
Hand-
unmute.
Handpay.
Okay. Unmute. I'm asking you to unmute.
She's been on. She's not even muted.
There she goes. She's got it.
Dr. Jagbe, please. I'm clicking the unmute button for her.
She got it.
Ma'am, kindly say
Yeah.
something because we want to see you and say thank you.
Well, it's a lot to take in because when it started, most of it she kept to herself. She didn't want us, especially me, to know what she was going through. So, but every glory goes to God.
Amen.
It was even God speaking through me to let it get to her so she can heal. So I'm so grateful for my Abba Father who helped us through the period. And I thank you for what you're doing. And I'm not a talker, but I'm just grateful for this gathering because it helps a lot. Whatever anybody's going through, it will help. As we come together, it helps to heal whatever anyone is going through.
Yes.
So I'm so glad for the platform that you have put together. And thank you for taking my daughter in to be part of this great platform.
Thank you
you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't even know if there's a better word to thank
Now
you.
I want to cry.
I don't have it other than Eshima. Thank you so much, ma'am. Because by you being there for her, now she's there for all of us as a society.
To God be the glory.
And your prayers, you're a praying mother. She had said it over and over again, sustained her, held her. She said, why me? But that immediately in the next sentence, she said, she knows that God is saying, I got you. And I'm thinking, the question is, what should I do with it? Because if you don't go through, you cannot be used of God.
Yeah.
Now, because of what she has gone through, she can now be a tool in God's hands to heal, to restore, to assist, to support, to do amazing for anyone else who is going through. She will smell it. Before the person completes opening their mouths, she will smell that domestic violence. She will smell that intimate partner violence because she has been through it.
Yes.
God allowed it so she can be used. And I praise God that tonight, for the first time, she came out and spoke. Thank you to you first, and thank you to you, Aramide. And I want to thank Attorney Tinu Akinshola for connecting me with Mimi. She felt strongly that we needed to talk. And immediately we talked, I said, Mimi, you're coming on Medical Mondays.
Thank you, sister.
And I thank you for agreeing. Thank you, Attorney Tinu, for always looking out for our community. Ma'am, we cannot appreciate you enough. But your work has just started. Because guess what? I'm introducing a daughter to you right on this platform for you to help me hold her hand because you've been there for Aramide, and you know how to navigate and how to help her. Her name is Nkechi. She just spoke. Nkechi, meet your new mother. Nkechi, unmute.
I'm here.
I would like you to please take her under your wings. All she said was true. Domestic violence she's gone through, and now announced a stalker. Kilo day, why? But the Lord got her.
Yes, oh yes.
So
There's
I'm going
nothing
to,
too difficult for my God.
amen. Amen. I'm going to have Aramide please connect you because I need you to please help me hold her hand. Her mom has gone to be with the Lord.
Mm.
And I've told her over and over again, she's not alone. So thank you
Yes.
so much. We appreciate you. And this month, this coming month, October, we're going to have domestic violence, month of Medical Mondays with Dr. O. So there'll be a lot more coming. Aramide, your book signing will, rope it in around that 19th so that, with the speakers coming, we will be able to see you again, hear you again, and actually now see the book. It is done by the grace of God.
Mm.
Thank you, ma'am, again.
Check
So,
that way on the 20th, our own event that we're doing.
yeah,
that we're
your event
inviting
is
everyone.
coming on the 20th. I didn't talk about it yet because we're not in October yet. That's why. But October 20th, Nkechi is actually doing an event on domestic violence and stalking. And we all will participate by the grace of God. She's in California. Most of us will be participating virtually, but it's a hybrid event. People in California will be on ground physically. So, Dr. Jagbe, kindly unmute, you are muted. Go ahead. Do you have a question? Where is it?
I have more than a question.
Okay.
Well, the first thing is, we can't thank you enough for expressing, sharing with us the experiences you went through. I'm sure there are similarities between what you went through as a child and what many of us went through as children. But the uniqueness of your presentation kind of blossomed around your own personal experience with an adult, as an adult. Okay. So one question I would like to ask is, you actually talked about fear, but you didn't expatiate on fear, the role of fear in somebody remaining in a state of abuse for undetermined length of time. So it would be nice for some people to know that they can overcome fear. If fear has been holding them captive in bondage for so long, then they need to break it. They need help to break something like that. And I know, thank you for being vulnerable to share with us. You're a female. But does that mean men are not facing similar situations that you're facing? It doesn't mean that. It means that some people, like you said rightly when you started presenting, many people are ashamed to even say something is going on with them. So they will suffer that, apart from just being fearful of what the outcome will be. So that's the question. What's the role of fear in keeping people in bondage to this kind of situation? Now, the comment I want to make is just to allay the fear of Nkechi. My comment actually was in favor of not accepting abuse. My comment about turning the other cheek being once was in favor of not staying in an abuse because the Bible tells you to turn the other cheek. I would not turn the other cheek twice. If you slap me once, I turn the other cheek. You slap me a second time, that's it. If you try to slap me the third time, you are going to get a response that you will not like. So that's me personally. But that's how I understood the scripture to be. You can say it 70 times, 7 times. That's fine for anyone who wants to forgive. I will forgive somebody who abuses me 70 times, 7 times. If they appeal to my humanity, like, I'm sorry I offended you and I did this, I'm sorry, and they repeat it again, maybe I can forgive them. But I can't turn my other cheek. I can't turn cheek more than once. If you slap me twice, you are fortunate. If you try to slap me 3 times, that's it.
Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Dr. Jagbe, before she answers, I just want to say that in her presentation, she did talk about men also being abused. So it's a fact and it's been talked about, because I want us to get through questions. I want us to be able, I don't want to belabor what we already know. That's one. Secondly, men may not want to talk about their being abused because of societal stigmas and beliefs that a man should be strong, a man is the man of the group. We all know that some men are abused in relationships. It's not as many as women, but it does happen. So please leave that aspect alone and answer, and leave the aspect of somebody turning cheeks or not. It's not the discussion right now. And in the chat box, we will go back to that. I don't know anyone who will support domestic abuse, but I've seen men who come out boldly and they're talking, and they too have abused their wives.
Yeah.
They are abusers in their households, but they come out and they lie. They don't take care of their children. Didn't send their children to college. In America, but they would come out and they wearing, we see that they are all forms of abuses. Abuse go in a long length of ways. So just to help you out so that we don't belabor what we already know and we'll discuss in a few minutes, is why I jumped into chime into that. So your comment.
So fear, I touched on that a little bit, but fear does play a role and every case is different. So, there's fear of repercussion. Some like every website related to domestic violence, when you click on it, there's a big sign that comes up and it says, hey, log off of here because your abuser can be tracking what you're looking at. So sometimes there's fear around repercussion from the abuser, or retaliation. There's fear of a loss of the family unit that you thought you were creating. So if you leave, I've heard from many different women who will say, I stayed for the kids. I stayed for this reason. I stayed to make sure that the family unit was intact. And meanwhile, they're suffering and, and then actually one of my teachers at a center that I work at, I was talking to her about the book and she told me her children are, I think her youngest is 10 now. And she stayed with her first husband 12 years. And although she and her ex-husband, they will go to the room and they will argue and they will fight and all that, thinking that they were keeping it from the children. But of course, children heard and all of that. And when she finally decided to leave him, her older children were like, Mom, thank God you decided to leave. You shouldn't have stayed for us and all of that. So sometimes it's the fear of breaking the home and what that does to the kids. Maybe they experienced a broken home themselves. So there's a long, long list of those kind of things, but fear does play. And it's really based on the person who you're talking to. My fear, like I said, I didn't have a financial attachment to him, but it was more so that this was my only chance to be married. My younger sister was pretty much being courted and was going to get married. She's 4 years younger than me. I didn't have that pressure from my mom. My dad has been deceased, so it wasn't pressure from my dad. So it wasn't that, it was just in my mind, something from childhood that I needed to have that family unit. And I can work through what he was giving me. So let me try and create this, mom, dad, child. I can create it and not lose my chance. So there's fear of that too. But it's case by case. If you ask 10 women, you have 10 different reasons for the fear.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. That is the key point. Every situation is different, but I want us to get this clear. Nothing, no situation justifies domestic violence. And that's why I said, leave the issue of turn the other cheek and all of that. That's not the issue here. It is not even something to talk about in this situation. That's not what we're talking about. And that's not what scripture is talking about. That would be misinterpretation of scripture. People get killed in domestic violence. You know somebody, please, on this platform, if you know someone going through domestic violence, kindly reach out. They need to be removed from that situation. Some people will say, scripture says no divorce. You are married, you should not divorce. Please, in the issue of domestic violence, I'm not advocating divorce to anybody. But in the case of domestic violence, we will remove you first. You can decide to go to counseling, sort your things out and all of that, but you should be removed from the situation to stay alive. And saying because of children, heck no, it destroys children most of the time. You may not be helping the children. You definitely, maybe not, let me remove the may. You are not helping the children. Please. Thank you. Dr. Tiffany Oloke.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening and welcome.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Mimi is my baby sister. So
thank you for coming. Thank you for participating. Thank you for your support and being there for her.
Yeah, she made sure I'm here tonight. And thanks to my aunt as well. I've seen her evolve and revolve so many years. We've shared so many things. Mimi, there were times when we cried together. When we sang praise together, we prayed, we didn't know which basket to put what at any particular time. And just to see you revolving and being able to talk about you in such a platform like this, we both unfortunately share most things. I'm a victim as well. And for us to be able to align our feelings, separate that emotions from decision making was tough. At times I would tell Mimi, this is the way I think we should go. And quickly I'm saying, Mimi, no, I don't think we should do that. I think we should do this. And we were just going back and forth. And to see this transformation for me, it's very important. And thank you, Mimi. You've always been a blessing to me as well. In as much as you thought you were leaning on me, I was leaning on you, Mimi. You never knew that. And also to say that Dr. Ho mentioned something very critical. We cannot undermine the effect of abuse. There is no grade of abuse. This abuse is small, is minimum, there is no tiering.
Right.
So tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, there is no tiering in abuse. Dr. O just mentioned something that people die. When people die and they bury them, they are gone. What about people that are living and they are living the reality of the effect of that abuse? They are seeing it in their body. They have all these inflammatory diseases going on. They are psychologically derailed. Maybe you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. I was, let me tell you, it was tough. Psychologically derailing, verbally derailing. You begin to speak the negative word that people have spoken into your life. You begin to live it. And those are the risks that come with that. Finally, I want to beg us, please speak out. there is no way you won't find someone to speak to. Let's put aside culture, norms, value, religion, and take good care of ourselves. Those 4 things that I mentioned nearly killed me. Culture. This is how we do it. This is the norm. Sister Nkechi mentioned the same thing. You're a girl. You cannot divorce. You're from a Christian home. Your father is a bishop. Your mom is a pastor. Oh, no. Take care of you regardless. Speak to someone. Finally, we are raising children that are seeing what we're going through. And Mimi knows my son very well. I tell my son, everything you saw is not real. That is not the reality of how you treat a woman. That is not I needed to start rebuilding their senses and tweaking their brains. Especially when it's coming from a man, then you want to start telling your male child, this is what you should do. Don't think this is how it is. So as we as parents and grandparents, and we are seeing a little bit of this attitude and behavior, as young as they are 3 or 2, start telling them, you don't treat a girl like that. You don't treat a man like that. So that because most times we tell the female child, so I sit on a board of a women empowerment organization, right? Probably because of what I've been through. And I see most women being told that you are the woman. You have to be like that. You have to be strong. You have to be dedicated. Remember Proverbs 31. And we are not teaching the male children on the other side that, you know what? The Bible says it that founded a wife, founded favor, and obtained favor from God. But you know what? When you find out, you have to know how to treat her too. So the work now goes beyond what Mimi and I and Nkechi and any other person on this platform in our family has gone through. What seed are we sowing into the life of the generation to come? I pray that the Lord will help us. Thank you so much, Mimi. You know I love you, girl.
Yes, I love you. Thank you,
Wow.
Auntie.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much.
Said a mouthful.
Thank you so much. Powerful.
Yes.
And thank you for being so. Mm.
I'm so sorry. Yeah. I spoke from my heart because I've been there. And we're still Mimi, we're still packing the residual.
We are. We are.
We're still packing the residual. I am packing the residual. She's packing we know we were together 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
In my bedroom, that was what we were talking about. We spoke about that. And the times where we can't really see ourselves because of distance and we need to give ourselves virtual hugs. And as women and as men, for every man that is on this platform, if you have the ability to hold a microphone, just talk to men. For every woman that is here, if you have the ability to hold a microphone or even send a text, just talk to a woman. Just talk. It's terrible. And when we talk about culture, religion, the norms, the values, they're killing everybody. It's killing everyone. If not for God, Mimi wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What she's doing today, she hasn't even said anything. My auntie knows. She hasn't said anything at all. In this, 3 hours is not enough.
She didn't scratch the surface.
Oh, yeah. She hasn't said enough. And thank God you are not bringing the 2 of us to come and talk. We'll be here till tomorrow. So please, women, men, and for men too, don't take that superiority of the ego. I'm a man. Please speak out.
Yes.
I know some men that were battered by women.
Mm-hmm.
I know them. I have two of them that I know.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take care of ourselves. Let's love ourselves. Let's speak out. It becomes a village thing that you're noticing somebody in your place of work. Black eye every time. Pull out to the side. You know, I love you. Start with love. Nobody can confide in you if you don't show them love. If you judge people, they won't come to you. They won't tell you. I couldn't tell anyone, even my siblings. I switched off everybody because I started from, in our family, we don't divorce.
Mhm.
God. You can't be educationally successful. Let me tell you, I cracked because I I cracked the joke about my own life. And I said, let me tell you, the only thing I couldn't handle was marriage. I could undo anything. But when it came to that, and I relied so much on the Holy Ghost, I relied so much on God. Mimi knows every time I'm like, Mimi, I don't know what else to do. Let's just go back to God and just go and revisit this thing with God. The Lord, it's good to pray, but the Bible says pray and watch. There is no stupidity in heaven. I was stupid. Let me tell you, a pastor told me and said, if you leave your husband's house, you are from the pit of hell.
Oh.
And when I heard that, because I didn't want to offend God, I was like, you know what? Let me just hold on until one day that I said, I'm going to know Christ for myself and I'm going to rely on the Holy Ghost to direct me and give me navigation. And he did. I can't continue. Let me just keep quiet because
you know what? Next month is Domestic Violence Month. We have Labor Day, unfortunately, that will take a day off. But I think we'll have enough time. Somebody has heard that issue on the platform, and I noted it that the Bible and scripture, when it comes to domestic violence, has clouded so much. We will dispel the myth. The Bible didn't cloud it. It's misinterpretation and false prophets and false teachers who don't have the word of God, and they are they misinterpreting the word. We will address it next month by the grace of God. Please stay tuned. And you mentioned something about Mimi being alive today. Yeah, we praise God. I had an experience in residency that I will share next month. Because of time tonight, I can't, where a lady was abused and has become a vegetable. What do you do with it? It's not acceptable. Domestic violence is not acceptable under any front. It has nothing to do with forgiving 70 times, 70 times, turning your checks. Those are true words of God, and we must not misinterpret those. You can forgive because you need to forgive, but you should not stay in that abusive situation for many reasons. We will discuss it. We'll discuss more. Dr. Izugo, kindly unmute.
Yeah, thank you so much, Aramide, for really sharing your life with us. And thank God for bringing you to this level where you can vocalize this and, and be comfortable. And Tiffany, thank you for really coming from the other angle to really explain certain things, which have been bugging in my mind. The question I wanted to ask was, from your experience for these men, what could you say were the risk factors for them to becoming who or how they become? Is it just an issue of their family and the exposure, or how they grew up, or how their parents what are the risks there? And then the second question is, the fear that comes after you go through certain situations like this is really, etched in your brain, almost like in a permanent form. What is there to get somebody to live out of that fear, be able to have a life and don't really be in that perpetual fear, no matter what they do? Thank you.
Your first question, did you say police?
No, the first question was, what are the risks? What is it that, from the men you have been, you've been exposed to, what are the risks that put them in such situation where they behave that way? What do you see the common thread? Is it because of the family they grew up in, or is it how they were raised, or is it what really led them in that behavior? What are the risks for that?
Okay. Mimi?
Yeah. So for my abuser, the answer is that there's a number of risk factors. There's not just a few things, a list of things. It could be any and all. For my abuser, it was his broken home. His dad was an Igbo man, and his mom was an American. And and there were 6 kids. I think he was right in the middle, I believe. And what he witnessed was verbal abuse more than anything in his house. And so he felt himself wanting to just be away from home, and him connecting with other people who were, smoking weed and just really not going anywhere in life. But he connected with that set of people. But the foundations of his life was a broken home. Because before he was 5 or 6, him and his family, his parents split up. And so his mom having to rear 6 children on her own. I think his dad moved back to Nigeria. And so she's American and she's here in Florida trying to raise 6 children. Very angry at them, angry at life, angry that she has to be on welfare, angry that she has to. So she really, and him and hers relationship was pretty terrible too. So it was just you know, it was a precursor for what he was going to be like in his relationships, because he didn't feel loved by his mom for sure. So, but the broken home was his.
Question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And the second question has to do when this fear, after going through, when this fear now becomes etched in the brain, what is there available to help get out of that and be able to live a life, a normal life, where where you're not in that constant fear, like you're coming out, yeah.
For me, and this relationship is over 15 years old. So in the early stages was the support of my family, as I shared, the support and consistent support. It was just constantly everybody not really asking me, well, what happened and why did you end up with him or anything like that. It was just, we're here, we've never left, we still love you. And so you may have it etched in your brain, but when you see around you that everybody's still, they're telling you come eat dinner, or I'm praying for you, or let's go to the movies, you start to feel like, oh, I can. One of the things I share in the book is having to deal with the feeling of being in trouble. I was always in trouble in the relationship. And one of the things that I started to allow myself to feel was, oh, so I can decide something, not get in trouble, and be okay. I can say, I don't want to go watch that movie and be okay. Or I can say, well, I don't want to watch that. Or I don't want to do that, or I'll see you tomorrow, those kind of things, and not be in trouble. So consistency of those around you that love you, you also tapping into the spiritual connections, like really asking God to really deal with, because the fear that, or the feelings of fear kind of are embedded before that abusive relationship, let's keep it honest, that existed in some form, something that you feel you don't want to lose, or something you don't want to feel happen to you. And then the abuser comes in and that exacerbates the fear. So it's really returning back to figure out what causes me to fear anything, really, because I'm supposed to only fear God. What am I really fearful about? So when you start to focus on that, and you start to chip away at that feeling of fear. That's how I feel.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Nkechi, kindly unmute. Nkechi.
Yeah, I'm coming. I'm trying my best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's all right.
Okay, so I just wanted to address a little thing when it comes to the topic of fear. My case was my ex that I had the domestic violence with was a tall, 6'5" Igbo guy. And he doesn't play. I'm just 5 feet, right? And he's very educated and very quiet. Nobody sees him talk. He will never talk. If he sees you right now, he's going to say, yes, man, yes, sir, and everything. And then the gift. At my workplace, when I was in Maryland before I moved to Virginia, to California, right? My co-workers were sort of jealous about me because he would always get flowers at break time, that he was really deceiving people outside there. So who can I talk to? I can't talk to anyone. If I share the story, yes, I was wearing beautiful clothes. I was living in a big house, but I was always crying. My family wasn't backing me up because they thought he was right. But I was the one going through what I was going through. So if I dare go out and say anything, I'm in trouble. He's gonna beat the hell out of me. Who would I run to? So I can't say anything. Okay, I even ran away. I couldn't even run away. I was praying. He sent me out because the police said, okay, if we come to this house, he's in the military. He's in the military, so they're covering him. So who would I run to? And then if I run to Nigerian people like me, they were judging me and they were telling me, Rodney, you're just lying. This guy is not like that. We're not seeing that in him. So even when I left to come to California, I prayed for him to even send me out with a 6-month-old child who is now 18 years old. It was after 15 years that he came to want to come see the child. I had to leave from shelter to shelter. So even when I came here to talk to people to seek help from them, my Nigerian sisters and brother, and what did they tell me? We don't help single people that left their husband. Yes, California, we don't help people like you because you left your husband. So I had to start from the scratch, begging, living from one shelter to one shelter. And now today, even when I went to live with one of them, she purposely go and buy a whole basket of okra for me to be cutting. You understand? And that's my own brothers and sisters. So I had to call the hospital with a sick child that had an open heart surgery. I had to move out of that place and go to live in a shelter. So we Nigerians, we don't help each other. The people that helped me to even today, I have my master's in America. Apart from my degree out there, wasn't my brothers and sisters that were from Nigeria. They were judging me. Find you. Country. That's what they were saying. She's too wild. She's too wise. So my thing that I want to say is, this is the time that we all should come together and stop the silence. I want to say this to you all. October, if Nigerians, if we go on air viral and talk about this thing, those men that are doing all this thing, it's not like men and women doesn't get both sides. We will caution ourselves and let's just put this thing behind by standing up when we see things. Èwo ló kàn mí bẹ́ẹ̀, kò séyìí tó kàn mí o. Ọkọ tìyàwó wọn kì í jà, wọ́n bá jà wọ́n á parí ẹ̀. Irọ́ ni o. No. By the time we all start speaking up, we're talking about these things, more men will stop, women will stop and respect themselves. I was well trained. I was well trained as an Igbo girl and I grew up in Nigeria. I knew how to cook. I knew how to do everything. But then this guy thinks that he's in control and he has so much control of my life. So I was afraid to speak because there's nowhere I can go to with all the cell phone, with all the cars he was buying and all that. Even then, I didn't even know that you can buy car and you are borrowing car, you are paying monthly. People in Nigeria think that they buy the car, they pay it off. So that man is rich. Irony. That's lie. So if we can all come together like this together and stand, when I mean stand, everyone here is educated. If we all stand and say we can't take this nonsense no more, this will curtail the behavior of so many men that think women should be enslaved. Lot of men think that women, we don't have a say at all. We don't have a say. And they do this to the people that are vulnerable, from poor kids. Rich people's kids don't really go through this because they know that those families will come after them. but it's the poor people that don't have a say in the society. That's a lot of us go through this.
They actually do.
Yes, thank you.
They do, my dear. It crosses the board, and in October we will all put together, including you, all of us, and see how to combat this. This is God ordained that we have this preamble before October. I kept saying October, we'll nail it by the grace of God. The Lord will give us the wisdom. It is not acceptable. Nkechi was a medical doctor in Nigeria, from Nigeria, before she came. So, Dr. Oduyebo, kindly unmute.
Good evening, and thank you so much for the presentation.
Good evening.
And I feel and I taste the passion with which everyone has shared tonight. It's very personal to each and every one of you. I am looking at, if you look at my postings, I'm not talking about what's already on the chat, but I'm going to come from another angle, and that's the angle of sickness. The abuser is sick. There's a mental sickness that causes somebody to behave in such way, in such barbaric way. And until such a person can get help through counseling, it's not even a matter of couples counseling this time. That individual person need serious help. I'm talking from a psychotherapeutic point of view. Nobody will ever excuse such behavior, because if that was my sister, if that was my mother, and those that talk about I stayed in it for the children, and like somebody else said rightly, you are exposing the children to trauma. You are not helping by staying in there. They are witnessing trauma that can really haunt them for life. And some of them are looking at it, witnessing it and seeing it as that's the norm. That's why you must not let your child witness it. If your child is at that formative age of making this or even absorbing information right from the age of 3, 4, please do not expose these children to that kind of physical abuse. There is also mental abuse that goes unseen by the outsiders, that only the victim is experiencing it. So I'm saying there need to be a huge megaphone to talk about this. And this is a very important platform also, that we can take information from this forum tonight home and spread the news that when you see something, say something. It don't have to happen to you. If you see your sister going through, and some people will say, oh, they will not leave no matter what you say. I have seen people being separated and went back to the abuser again. The love that joined them is beyond reasoning. You cannot reason at a point, but and don't assume that the person is enjoying the abuse. No. Sometimes some people stay in their relationship to help the abuser, to see. You don't assume that person is going to just take it. No, there's a part of the brain that has been affected, and it don't heal itself. It just degenerates and deteriorates further. So my advice is, let us create a continuum of this discussion so that the bigger platform will be reached and more people will be able to be educated on the experiences that is very sad and distasteful that everyone is going through. Thank you so much.
Dr. Oduyebo, thank you very much for bringing that perspective. Dr. Oduyebo is a doctor of psychology, and he deals with a lot of mental health. And in this space, don't worry. This October will get us all together, because you counselors have to come on board and we have to look at all perspectives. Our community will heal in Jesus' name. And all these lies about, we have to dispel the religious myths and things that are enslaving. We have to do that. And we have a lot of work to do, but I think we can do it this coming month. Don't you think so, Mimi?
Yes, of course. Of course.
Dr. Oloke, don't you think so?
Yes, ma. Yes, we can.
We will.
Yes, we will.
Nkechi, I know Nkechi is ready too. And there's a silent giant also here on the platform. There are many silent giants tonight. They're not talking. Attorney Amobola, I know you're there. I called you out. Anyways, I had my two aunties. They came on, raised their hands, and then they disappeared. Kindly unmute, Maz. We want to hear you before I go to the chat box. And there's Olu iPad, Welcome.
Hello. How are you?
Fine, thank you, Maz.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. It was me. I thought because we didn't have much time that I would leave it till another time. But thank you for giving me the opportunity to say something. Thank you very much, Aramide. And thank you, Mommy, for being there for her. We thank God for both of you and all of you, especially Dr. Tiffany too. I will want to say that a lot has been said. Thank you for expressing yourself, for sharing your experience, and we are with you. We feel you, we know what you have gone through, and by the grace of God, your daughter will never experience it. And none of our children and our grandchildren will ever experience it. The Lord will continue to guide you. And I will want to say that I know there are so many things we can talk about, but just to cut it short, I just want us to move on from here. We are all most of us are mothers and fathers and grandparents. I want to say that I have 3 boys, and there was a test I gave them when they came up to say that they were getting married. And I know that provocation can lead to a lot of things, even for a sane and normal child. So I used to throw some very pertinent questions to them. The worst, I usually ask them, the worst that can happen to you and your supposed wife that will provoke you, can you think of what it can be? Whether they gave me an answer or not, I gave them an answer. And from there, from their response, I was able to deflate and let them realize that there is nothing that will make them lift their finger to touch their wives. That they should never, never do it. That if they did, that will be the end. I will pack the poor girl's stuff and take to the parents with apologies. Because I witnessed a lot of domestic violence as physical, emotional, financial. So I know what it could be or what could happen from those experiences. So that is why I think I want all of us to engage our young ones. If you are a mother to boys or girls, and if you are a grandparent, please counsel them from home and let them know the gravity of what these actions could lead to. So I want to ask all of us to please make it a point that we educate and encourage and advise our children and grandchildren so that they will not ever get into that stage. And then moving on, I would say that we have friends and colleagues around us now. I have been able to take pictures of all those numbers, and we have heard the heartfelt expressions and the experience of our darling Aramide. So we should take it upon ourselves to spread the news. Let us all be counselors to preventing such abuses. And where it has happened, like Dr. Tiffany said, let us go out and help others. And with Nkechi too, let us make a commitment to whoever that we know is going through such experiences. Let us be there for them. Give some time, give some encouragement, give some support financially or otherwise, give some time to whatever they will need and advise them as the Lord advises us, because we have to be cautious, but we need help from those who are professionals as well. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you, Ma.
Much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for the wisdom. We
Yeah.
appreciate you. Thank you. Oh, my attorney.
Good
Attorney
evening.
Omobolanle
Good evening.
Good
Good
evening.
evening. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening, Attorney Tino. I'm saying hello. And everybody. Yes.
Welcome.
Good evening.
Yes.
So just to say one thing. Good evening. I'm sorry. I'm still at work. I'm sorry. So yeah, so I just wanted to say thank you to Miss Aramide for coming out to share her story. And she said something about she's using our story and that we all should use our story. And that's very important, because sometimes what we think is a stigma or what we think is a disadvantage is actually a blessing in disguise. And I remember talking to Dr. O one day, and I was saying that a lot of us don't know that we are equipped for more than we think or imagine. And a lot of time it takes situations like this to bring out the best in us and to actually make us realize that we are actually equipped for more. So I want to say thank you for, allowing yourself to be vulnerable. It is not easy to be able to share in public and, share and motivate others and, ginger others and let others know that, you can do it. So I want to say thank you. And I also want to emphasize about what the last speaker said, and there's another Dr. Word said about when we train our female children, we fail a lot of time to train our male children to be leaders. And when I mean leaders, it's not such that they should exact their power on their partner. We fail to train a lot of them to be leaders of character, because you have to be a man who failed to conquer his own emotion has failed in every other aspect. So a lot of time as parents, we focus on raising our child, grooming our ladies, our girls to be a good mother and nurturer and things like that. And then in the process, we fail to actually imbibe in the male who are supposed to be, quote unquote, that leader in the home. We fail to teach them to be leaders of character. So I agree with a mom who spoke just now, and the other doctor that's spoken about training our male children. We need to take cognizance of that, and we need to train them to be leaders of character. That is very important, because the child you are raising today, that female child that you're preparing to be a good mother, is going to be a mother under a beast, is going to be a mother under a child who cannot control his own emotion. And it's going to end up breaking that home. So we should take more cognizance of raising and be conscious of raising our male children also. But there's a lot to talk about, domestic violence and things like.
Don't worry, keep it.
I know. Yeah, I know. So there's a lot to talk about, so I'm not going to talk about a lot, but everybody's story is peculiar, just as our individual differences are. So everybody has a direction to talk about it. We can always grab it from the head, from the tail. Everybody have a story to share. And from every story and from every angle is always something to learn. So I appreciate everybody for coming up to speak about their experiences and sharing it, and signing up to be advocate in this our community, and look forward to doing more things and being more of partner with everybody on this platform if there's any need to. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So Attorney Omobolanle is doing a lot in this space. She actually just had 2 programs, bam, bam, bam. Here in the US, I attended, I didn't miss anything. And she started the international arm of it and decided to start in Ghana. I participated on Facebook Live. She wrote this book, Restored. Oh, I don't know if you can see. Can you see it? Restored. Do you see the book?
Mm-hmm.
Restored. That's the book she wrote. And she's on the journey of restoration, restoring women who have been battered. And she's doing an amazing job. In Ghana, she actually, what she did that day, actually, she set up also continuity of empowering these women who have been battered, providing counseling, creating small businesses for them to empower them financially, because some of them are trapped because of finances. It's a lot. And she took 2 of her children with her to Ghana. When her son spoke, blew me off the water. I think he just concluded everything, because he said, I witnessed what my mother went through. I saw what happened. And I also now see how she had overcame all she went through and where she is now. And then he encouraged the women that they can do it too. I'm like, that's it. It was the right time, it was towards the end of the program. He concluded that program for me. And that is because of how she had brought him up, the upbringing. We have a lot to do next month. We all will put our heads together and see how through October, we work through this domestic violence and intimate partner violence. Thank you so much, Attorney Mobolanle, for
Thank
what
you.
you
Thank you
doing.
for having. Thank you
Yes.
for having.
Thank you. So in the chat box, it's a lot. Dr. Ogunleye said she knows someone too, but it's difficult to rescue them from such situations. They have to want to be rescued. So what's your take on that, Mimi, in 2 minutes?
I would agree with that. You can't help someone by physically drawing them away. You can help them by showing them that they have a safe space with you. That's all you can do, and giving them an option to come to another place that's outside of what they're experiencing. Because chances are they're sharing some things with you. They are sharing because they know it's not the right thing that they should be going through. But I share in the book, I had one supervisor who pulled me to the side and told me, you're different, you've changed, what's going on? And I never forgot that, but I wasn't ready. She couldn't do anything but tell me what she was seeing, that I was, you seem different, you seem a little more moody, a little dark, that kind of thing. So you can't physically move them or talk them into leaving, but you can create a safe space, let them know that you are always there, and you have options for them, you have resources for them, and you pray with them and things like that. That's what you can do as a support.
Thank you. So what about social bullying? Dr. Jagbe brought that up, and I think it's very important when we talked about stalking, and he wrote, what about social bullying? I'm like, did they go hand in hand? Can you comment on that?
I mean, social bullying is kind of like, what I hear is that kind of cyber putting your information out to the world. I mean, I think it's another form of abuse, and that's harder for someone to, that's harder to maneuver. But as long as they have support, as long as they're talking about what's going on, then they can involve law enforcement, they can involve other people that can help catch the person that's trying to perpetrate that. But it's harder than the other abuses, because once someone has put something out on social media, it's hard to kind of catch it all. But it exists a lot. But as long as someone, the victim is speaking about it, speaking to someone, they can still receive help, and they can be on their journey of healing as long as they speak up about it. But it does exist for sure.
Thank you. You're right. That is hard. We can talk about that. That's another huge one. Attorney Akinshola wrote clearly that, Aramide, you are a victor, not a victim. And I say hallelujah to that. I agree. Haman in London is apologized several times that he had difficulty, he was dropping in and out. He said the sad situation with a man displaying the premeditated behavior like your abuser showed is that they must be stopped. But they will go on to do this again and again. And it's referring to the fact that this man seemed to have just walked away, but he would do it to somebody else.
Of course.
And he said, until usually a death occurs sadly. Of course, not known if he had undiagnosed mental trauma, like, was just mentioned to us, issues which in itself is no excuse. And he said, good to see that you coming through the other side, that you came through the other side. Stay safe and be blessed. But he raised some points that are very important. Should we let these accusers just go, or should they be brought to the courts, to the law, to justice? Comment on that, please.
I mean, the quick answer is yes, but for me, and I'm sure some other victims, you feel shame more than anything. So you just kind of want to just go into hiding and let everything just kind of go as it is. Like I said, in Vegas, the police asked me, I had an opportunity to get him locked up. But all I wanted to do was just let it just go away. I just wanted to go home. So yes, they should be, but a lot of times they're not, because people are not speaking up. People are not holding them to that. So.
And Attorney Akinshola said, actually, to what you just said, that break the silence. The shame is not you. It's not for you, but for the abuser. And Dr. Jagwe said something again that says something about the insecurity of the abuser.
Well, there's a lot of insecurities, I would say, for my abuser. He definitely wanted to be, he related strongly to the Igbo man side. He was half Igbo, half American. And based on what his dad showed, he was supposed to be a big, proud Igbo man, and Igbo men had their women put in place. Like, you do not speak up. You had to be submissive and all that. So he was trying to kind of create that in our relationship. But also, of course, going through my mental health training, I'm seeing that he was this a big child who just wanted to be loved by his mom at the end of the day. He just wanted to be loved always. He wanted a space where he was seen, and he was this big, strong man that was smart and the most handsome and the tallest, and he just wanted to be seen. And when I saw their relationship, I understood that, oh, he's trying to have me take her place. And because I'm not her, I'm failing at every turn. And so there's a lot of insecurities that come about. That's just one aspect that I saw, but there's so many. As I talk to clients, there's so many insecurities that come up. Yeah.
And I wonder where narcissism fits in there.
Well, yeah, that's definitely
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We had a talk on narcissism about 2-3 weeks ago on the platform. So Sitokweyemi said, we know there are red flags to these abuses and emotional attachments, which at times are difficult to deal with. I think you talked about that, but because you saw the red flags, even your supervisor advised you, but at that time, it's hard. It's hard. So this question is very important. Dr. Alu asked, what counsel do you have for men who go through domestic violence from their partners?
I have quite a few. I think the first counsel is helping them see that they're being abused. It's really tough for my male clients. They don't, you know, like I think Dr. O, you said that as far as the societal norms of machismo, being macho, being you can't be abused, how that doesn't even make sense. So helping them kind of see that, and I think Sister Tinu talked about the repetition. So something keeps happening. This is how she talks to you. This is what she's doing, and helping them see. But I think just like their female counterparts, psychotherapy is very important, because if that's consistent and they're hearing someone like me say it in every session, tell me about you and your wife. What happened this past week? Well, Mimi, this is what's going on. And then tell me how that mirrored the one from 2 weeks ago. And then we start talking about it that way. They start seeing the repetition and they start understanding, well, yeah, I don't really like that. So psychotherapy is important. That's at least one consistent part of their life. That they can count on, at least in sitting with me, I'm going to consistently bring the truth to them. So,
and please do me a favor, if you please post your contact where people can contact you. Actually, you already put the scan. Yes, and I tried it. It worked.
Yep.
So towards the end, I'd like you to put that up again in case someone wants to contact you. They can, you know, for help. Brother Patrick said this, and I think it's important. He said, the thing about 77 times 7 is 70 times 7 times, for that you should forgive 70 times 7 times, is what he's saying. It's not to negate the fact that domestic abuse is bad or not to be addressed. Both can happen at the same time. Forgiveness can take place while the issue of the violence can be addressed either within the social justice system or within the family. I think it's a point for that. Dr. Booker raised her hand. We always give preference to those who raise their hands. So kindly unmute.
Yeah, you know, I'm listening, and what a thought came to me with male violence has, and thank you so much, Aramide. I was really impressed, and I felt it to my heart, the way you were able to communicate your own story. That's a blessing. But has she seen male on male domestic violence? We now have different marriages. And I have actually seen teenagers, you know, who were, I guess they were gay at the time. That was in the 80s. One really abusing and killing another. He didn't die, but, you know, beating him up and so on. And then we learned that there was something going on. But I think in the future, we're going to see a lot of male and male domestic violence as opposed to male and female. Just a thought. This is the new world.
You're going to another dimension now, Dr. Booker. I'm going to leave that alone for this time. Maybe we'll do that some other time in the you know, far future. We'll deal with it. You know, we always tackle anything that we need to tackle on Medical Mondays with Dr. O. But that's another kind of worm. So Sister Favor said to turn the other cheek, you know, like Dr. Jagbe, you know, was alluding to, means to see and treat everyone as a person created in God's image, always seeking their highest good. And that is the truth. So it's not literal. And the fact, you know, AJ was saying the Bible and scripture, when it comes to domestic violence, has clouded so much. It hasn't. We will take care of that. Stay tuned. Attend all through next month, and you're going to get that answered, because scripture is clear. Domestic violence is not accepted in scripture. Look, David was going to kill a man. It was his wife that, you know, that begged for him not to be dealt with. Then God dealt with him. There are examples in scripture. So Nkechi was making the point she made already, that people who go through domestic violence are being judged and placed under the box. They should not be. We should not be. It is very painful to hear, Nkechi, and to hear that people in our society just had disdain over the pain that she was going through. But thank God for where she is now. And we will do our best to make sure that others don't go through that. That's when we would have attained success. Dr. Duyebo said the element of fear cannot be overlooked. However, the elephant in the room is personal ownership of responsibility for accepting or choosing such partner. Whew. There is also an element of shame for the victim to openly admit that the partner suddenly became a monster. So true.
Very true.
So true. Hard truths. And Online Campus AJ said, encouraging someone who is in an abusive relationship requires sensitivity, compassion, and patience. Here are several ways to support or to offer meaningful support. Ade Faleti said, people should talk more about domestic violence in a way that everyone gets uncomfortable before becoming comfortable. On point, it says, in their opinion, maybe more awareness about domestic violence needs to be shared at places where our people visit most, the churches, social events, and grocery stores. On point. So we'll knock heads together and see how that can be done in the form of flyers or announcements or talking to the pastors to have like 10 minutes to address this. We can effect all of this. I agree.
Dr.
Yes.
Sorry. We actually have been doing that. When Nala first started, I used to be the coordinator of that domestic violence thing. We did it at Temple of Praise. We did it in Emmanuel's. And I think we did it back to back at Temple of Praise. And now of course, my organization, She Rises International, we're looking at launching into churches and mosques again, so that we can bring this to our people. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. So the template is already there. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. The deal now is not stopping, but now continuing where you have stopped and, fine-tuning and making it better. Thank you so much for what you have done and what you will continue to do. Thank you. Bolanle Adefeso said, we are trained in Christian counseling that once there is physical abuse in marriage, we must advise separation immediately. On point. On point. And, Online Campus said, listen without judgment. Let the person share their experience at their own pace. Avoid blaming them or suggesting they should have done things differently. Validate their feelings. Acknowledge that what they are experiencing is real and serious. Remind them that they are not alone and that abuse is never their fault. Exactly. Yeah. Offer emotional support. Be there for them consistently. Let them know you are a safe person to talk to and that their feelings of fear, confusion, or guilt are normal given the situation. On point. Encourage professional help. Suggest reaching out to a counselor, therapist, or a domestic violence hotline. Yes. And Attorney Williams said a very moving and informative presentation. Thank you, Ms. Aramide, for sharing. Dr. Duyebo again says the origin and birth of spousal and domestic violence is the age-old arranged marriages and the fear of appearing as a failure to family and friends. Well, the fear. So, Professor Gunlese says thank you, and God bless you. God bless your heart, sister. This is so sad. That is Online Campus. Dr. Jagwe said, parents to child abuse and siblings abuse. How do those play out?
I mean, that's related to the domestic violence. So when sibling to sibling sexually assaults themselves, that's considered domestic violence. When they are physically violent with themselves, that's considered domestic violence. So that I just brought that up to because both terms are used interchangeably. When we say domestic violence, everyone just assumes that that type of abuse plus intimate partner, they're all the same, and people have been trying their best. Researchers and academics, they've been really working hard to help people understand that this intimate partner violence is just as bad. And it deserves its own kind of eyes on and support and care. So
Thank you so much. Dr. Elisha said a lot here, and I'm going to read them after the other because Attorney Tinu was saying something about if the abuser is mentally sick, he needs to get help. The victim has to be ready, but we can help them reach that decision in a more gentle way. Dr. Elisha says, not making excuses for them, but they do not and will not see that they are mentally ill. That's a big problem. When somebody does not see that they have a problem, how do you help them with it? And she said, that is why self-care is key. She says, abuse affects both men and women, but women have the highest percentage. She said, our society in Nigeria fuel the abuse as well, indirectly. That she's sorry for the abused on this platform, that her heart and soul prays for you.
Yeah.
And Dr. Buka said, Aramide, that you are so moving. She felt pain in her heart. And she says, thanks for your courage. That's Dr. Buka we just spoke.
Thank you.
And thank you. People were congratulating Attorney Omobolanle here, and Dr. Tiffany Oloke said, thank you, everyone. The Lord will eradicate all forms of abuse. Have a good night. Thank you. Yeah. And there are lots of thank yous that I didn't read because it was a lot on the platform tonight. I want to say thank you so much. Believe it or not, we can continue going and going. That's why we will split this, we will dialogue and come back strong. We'll take a break next week and come back strong in October to address this. Sister Wumi Kamsen from California said, Aramide, thanks for sharing your story. May God continue to grant you the courage and wisdom as you continue to impact lives. And
thank you.
Thank you, sis. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, without belaboring this, I want to ask you to give us your parting words and we'll say good night.
So,
what is your take home? What should we take home?
So first and foremost, thank you again, Dr. O, for this platform, this opportunity. I'm very grateful. I was nervous, but I just prayed and I asked God to just give me the words and just be me. I want to thank Sister Tinu for the connection. She heard my story. We talked for about an hour the first time, and then she was like, I know who to connect you to. So here I am. So parting words, I just want to say that if anybody on this call is experiencing intimate partner violence, domestic violence, that you are not alone and you should seek help immediately. There are a number of people on this call. If you feel like I don't really trust anyone or I still feel ashamed or whatever, try Dr. O, try her, try me. I'll put my number back up. I talk to people who are not clients all the time, who are just struggling. So if you feel like, hey, this conversation moved me a little bit, or someone that's going through that, they feel stuck, they don't know which way to turn, reach out, and get the help. But the biggest thing that I want people to take away is that abuse, as we've talked about multiple times, abuse is in many, many forms. So just because you're not being hit does not mean that you're not being abused. And just think and search your soul and ask if the things that are happening to you are supposed to be happening to you. Is that what God wants for you? Is that what you want for yourself? Is that the dreams and the wishes and the hopes you had for yourself? If the answer is no, then you need to seek help. Talk to somebody. If you feel like there's people who are too close and you want to talk to a stranger, call the domestic violence hotline, but get help. And I think and I believe that if there's anyone on this call or you know someone that this conversation has moved you in the direction of a turnaround, and for that I'm eternally grateful for. So I thank everybody for staying on and listening to my story. And I appreciate the opportunity, and I hope to see everyone again in future conversations. Thank you all. Have a blessed night. And yeah, that's all I have to say.
Thank you so much. God bless you. And till we see next week, please stay safe. Oh. I just got a message that
Okay, so to me,
that's not the message I got. That was an intruder. It says, God bless you. This is too much and unbelievable, but God will heal all of you in Jesus' name.
Amen.
It's on point. It's a good way to round this up. I like that prayer, and thank you. Online Campus, AJ said, thanks again so much for your kindness. Great presentation. Reach out is the best way to go. Big thanks. And thank you so much for bringing your daughter. You are so beautiful. Thank you for supporting mommy.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Good evening, darling, and thank you. We appreciate you and we love you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ma.
Thank you. So till we meet again next week, please, everybody.